Sales objections. All startup founders hate doing it, or they think they do it well and then realize they're missing the mark. So here's what we're going to do pretty much from this point moving on, is I'm going to do an extended video here where I cover some of the top objections that I get from founders every freaking day. Except we're going to leave it up to the wheel. If you see, here's the full wheel here. On every piece we have an objection, and it's going to be random. I'm going to pull up the wheel, we'll spin it, and then we'll see what comes up, and we'll answer until we get 5 of them different ones correct. And what I'll do is, as soon as we answer a question, because I was wondering, how do we do this without repeats? I'll take the question off the board. How you like that? Haha. All right, let's go with the first one, and I've got my eraser here. Spin, let's put it over this way in the center so we can see as much of the wheel as possible. All right, let's go. Oh, I get no wobbling. Ooh. Does maybe later actually mean never? Fantastic one. Does maybe later actually mean never? Absolutely, unless there is an exception to this rule. If someone says maybe not now, but let's revisit in 3 months, that's usually fine. What you do is you don't hound them. You wait for 3 months, put them in your tool, whether it's HubSpot or any other CRM you use, and follow up. But usually not now means that you haven't done a really good job of explaining your value. You're reaching out to them probably at the right time, so it's not a good fit. And one of the biggest ways that we can actually stop that from happening is to do your research. Listen, for your ideal customers to gain that initial traction, especially for early adopters, they are usually putting out signals somewhere online where we can actually go and make sure and validate that they are our ideal customer persona. So stop doing random stuff. You know what I really want to say. You're going to make sure that you find people who are actually in the market for what you have. So that means you have to take a look at who they are, what they're doing, and do your research before you reach out. And that way you won't fall into that bucket where people say, well, maybe later. Reach out once, 3 times max, but really you should be on to the next one. As they said, I got a million ways to get it. Choose one. Great question. Let's spin the wheel again. Oh, okay. So it actually didn't move past. Is this a real objection or just feedback? I get this a lot too. Is it a real objection or feedback? In order to understand whether it's just real objection or feedback, you have to go back to the original person who's talking to you. You need to know before you can answer that question whether or not you're actually talking to your ideal customer persona. Reason being is if you are just throwing spaghetti at a wall and asking questions and get objections from just your random person, you haven't qualified whether or not they're going to benefit from your solution. You haven't qualified or not whether or not they have a real problem that needs solving. So before you start asking questions, my suggestion to you is to actually validate that that person is a part of your ideal customer persona, your ICP for short. You'll see me use ICP everywhere because it's super important. If you start seeing trends of people who usually have the problem that you're trying to solve, usually say that they want the benefits that you're trying to solve for as well, like they want the outcomes, and then they give you something that's a potential objection. When you start seeing that trends where it keeps happening over and over to that same ICP, then you're cooking with gas, as they say, and that you probably have an objection that you should be listening to. Now, your goal is to truly understand what the objection is, because all objections are really the good ones for your ICP are buying signals. Your comeback is to be able to understand what do they need to see that is actually going to help move them forward. Okay, just checking. You know, with recording, you got to make sure that content's still there. All right, next question. What do we have up next? How do I price when I have no competition? Oh boy, what a loaded question. So, first of all, there's one of 2 ways of looking at this. First is never, ever think that you don't have any competition. I'll give you a perfect example. When I'm doing programming and I'm teaching about competition and jobs to be done, I always ask people, who is a competitor to Netflix? So you'll get Hulu and Prime and maybe YouTube and some other things. But the biggest competitor to Netflix is actually Fortnite, which is a game playing solution. You'll want to keep in mind that People will get their problem solved one way or another, and the competitors that might be in your realm might not be an obvious solution. For instance, I talk about the Dyson all the time. People usually name off Conair and all these other brands of hair dryers, whereas the competition to a Dyson, my favorite, is like drying your hair in the air. They have these things called hair turbines, so you can wrap your hair and it sucks all the water from your hair. There's a lot of different solutions that don't look like a direct competitor to you. So you want to make sure that you understand what are people doing to solve that problem, not just other solutions, lookalikes as we call them. But the other thing you want to think about is if you are operating in a space where there truly is no competition, it might be because there's no money to be had. So that's the next thing you want to think about. If there's something that's really highly saturated, or at least you have 10 to 20 different competitors that you can think of and name off, it means that there's money in that space and there is a high potential for problems there, which is why the competitors are already in that market. So before you start thinking, oh my God, I'm the only one doing this and we're first to market, I can't tell you how many times founders say that to me. Think about it, truly think about it before you actually proceed, because it's telling you one of two things. So just saying. All right, let's go again. Here we go. How do I turn founder sales into a repeatable system? Well, you're going to have to go and buy my book. No, you don't. But I talk about it in my book, which is why I'm starting to do these longer trainings online, because really you need to actually start from the problem. The name of my book is called Solve Problems, Make Money, Repeat. Because unless you start off solving a problem for the market, you're going to do what I watch 95, really high. For 95% of founders that I meet have come up with a solution of something that they think is going to be really cool. And then they have to retrofit that to the market and then go back and find the marketplace where they fit. Very, very hard to do. For those of us who are coaches, we work with founders all the time who try to do that. So all I'm saying from the very beginning is you should be starting with a problem that you're solving, listening to conversations from potential customers and asking yourself, how can I solve this better than potentials already in the market? And if you can do that, then you can actually start building a system from that. How do you find those people? Where do they live? On the channels that they're at? What kind of messaging do you need to actually say to get in front of them? What are their jobs to be done? What matters to them most? Is it emotional, social, or functional that they actually really care about getting solved by a solution? What is the value to them? What's your time to value? How long does it take for them to experience value when they use your solution? And last but not least, how much ease can you make? How can you remove friction that it takes for them to actually get the value that you say you can get? And last but not least, do you have a system where you're measuring your outcomes at each and every step? Because if you're able to do that, you are going to activate customers. I'm telling you, you will. After working with that number, by the way, I use 1,600. I know that number is way higher, but let's just say it's there. I see the difference every day between a founder who saw a need in the market and created something for it versus somebody who just had a harebrained solution and thought this would be cool to make and then have to go and work backwards and try to figure out who it solves the problem for. So remember, I gave you a whole set of things that you can actually look and optimize. And if you need help, of course, that's what I'm here for. And I get so excited about this. That's why I'm doing this. So we have 1, 2, 3 questions that we've done. We got 2 more. So let's spin the wheel, spin the wheel. Okay, how do I stop getting ghosted after a great sales call? Well, first off, if you're getting ghosted, it means it wasn't a great sales call. It means someone was just trying to be polite and get you off the phone. If you actually demonstrate that you understand the problem that someone's dealing with, you know you've got the right person who's dealing with that problem. And most importantly, you've been able to communicate the value that they get, that offer should be so compelling. Honestly, within that first 30 minutes of your demo call or your first meeting, that they are immediately putting themselves into the solution, which is the value that you say you can deliver. If you haven't done a good job of that and you do a demo like most founders do, which is showing each and every bell and whistle that their platform offers or for their service, all the things that they can do for your company. If they're doing that, it means that they don't understand what the biggest problem is that the customer is dealing with. So they are going to say anything and everything to get you off the phone. So your goal is to be able to demonstrate that value straight out the gate. Speak their language. And you can only do that by talking to a high volume of your ICP. Again, if you don't know who your ICP is, then it doesn't matter how great your solution is, it ain't never going to work. So let's start from the basics and let's start talking to the right people, because the right people do not ghost. They understand that there's FOMO, fear of missing out, and that fear of the value that you've demonstrated so clearly on your conversation that they're going to want it. So that was that one. Okay, we got one more. I'm having a ball. Life can be fun, life can be games, and you can still make money in work. So here we go. Last spin. This will be a good one. No duplicates. Oh my God, this never happens. Okay. How do I qualify a lead and not waste time on a dud? Amazing question. How do you not waste time on a dud? Especially when I just thought, because it came up and I'm going to have a call, a founding team on this later. When you have an ICP that is like boiling the ocean, for instance, our solution is for all small, medium-sized entrepreneurs. That means you don't know who your ICP is, because there is going to be a group of SMEs within that, a subgroup. So you're going to niche down that you actually find have your problem at least on a daily basis. That's how you get the stickiness. That's how you build retention. That's how you get value. When they're using your solution a lot, and every time they use it, they get value. So there is a subsection of people in there. So instead of a small to medium-sized entrepreneurs, it's going to be small to medium-sized entrepreneurs doing between 1 to 10 million in revenue a year, and that are located in North America. Better yet, located in a major city. Now what you've done is you've boiled down that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of potential SMEs globally. Now you have it down to even a region. And once you do that, you are able to slowly break down and really truly dig into who are your ideal customers. And you're able to, if you can even go a step further and then put it down to a specific industry. So you work specifically with, and I have a founder who did this, so I'm pulling on this example, who are bakers or makers. They're in the maker space. They make things for people, right? Whether it's food or products, but they hand make products. Then it's super specific. You can then test things down to ABC testing to people. So once you understand that, then you can start understanding where does your value come from, which means you're going to be able to start building the value around what you do. So for instance, let's say you do something related to really sleek branded packaging, and you can create that through your solution in a set of minutes instead of hours, and having a branding person. You're able to gather all of their materials, and through the use of AI, you then take their packaging process down to minutes instead of weeks. Then you have some serious value. You are opening up all of those hours that they would have spent on this. It's an important piece of their branding, but they're spending way too much time on it. So now if they are churning out new products on a monthly basis, think about how much time that opens up for them. Or every time they need to send something else, they need to do it over again and create a new specific template when they figure out a new niche for themselves. So once you know that value, then you can start self-selecting. Watch the people online who keep sending new stuff all the time. They're your ideal customers. It's not hard. Go on their Instagram or their TikTok or their website and see how often are they doing product launches. If they're doing product launches every week or every 2 weeks, then they're probably your ideal customer. And then you remove such a huge segment of wasted time on duds. So really dig in and start to think about the value that you bring to your customers and who your customers are. So here's what I'm going to do. Because we answered half of this list, I'm going to keep them. But what I'm going to suggest you do is, if you've watched to the end of this video, what questions do you have? I will start filling them on this board. And if you give me items to put on this board, I'll give you a shout out. And I'm going to even make it one better. I'll do a shout out on LinkedIn. So I want to hear your objections. What is stopping you from selling? What are you hearing, or what's getting you stopped up? I'm here to help you make money. And on that note, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about what you hear or want to see the next steps beyond, you know how to reach me, and I'll talk to you soon.